That's what we got.
All right, Congressman Jim Jordan, good to see you. Thank you for coming in. Appreciate it. Well, not everybody agrees that cutting welfare programs is necessary to solve the current budget crisis. One of them is David Callahan of the advocacy organization Demos. He joins us now. So what's right or wrong with what the congressman said?
Well, listening to that, it felt a little like a time warp. I think he paints a misleading picture. The welfare law passed in 1996 already encourages people to become self-sufficient and has those work requirements. Other programs like food stamps have work requirements as well. His proposal would somewhat increase those work requirements, which I'm fine with. The big problem...
That's very... let me just linger on that for a second, though, because to me, that's the most damaging part of welfare is creating a sense of dependency on the part of the recipient, and that happens over time. But you and the congressman would agree,
I think that
the workfare part of the welfare reform in '96 was good.
Yeah, there's a lot of bipartisan consensus that we need to deal with any dependency that exists in the system. The big problem, though, is getting people to become self-sufficient isn't necessarily cheap. Because you need to train, you need to give them job training, you need to give them education, you need to give them transportation to get to work, subsidized transportation. You need a place where they can drop off their kid in the morning, and that's not necessarily a way to save money. And also, the congressman is misleading in suggesting that welfare spending just goes up and up and up. The main thing that's been driving overall increases has been the health care increases in Medicaid.
But let me deal with that first part, all the things that a person who is behind the curve needs in order to get back on their feet. The fact is that what they don't need is another government bureaucracy. And there are so many government bureaucracies, and I think this is another thing that you and the congressman might agree on, is that there's so much overlapping of activity. You have the HHS doing one thing, another department doing another thing, and so many programs overlap. Can't we streamline that?
Oh, surely we can, and we see that kind of duplication in other parts of the government as well, such as in the intelligence establishment. Key challenge here, though, is that if you want people to be self-sufficient, they need to make a living wage. And right now, we have a low-wage economy. A fifth of all workers make $10 an hour or less. Getting a job doesn't necessarily get you out of poverty, David.
Understood. But
a third of working families are still poor.
But again, bureaucracies don't get you out of poverty either. We prove that by all the trillions of dollars that we have spent since 1965 when the war on poverty began. There was one economist who added together all of the poverty programs, excluding Medicaid and Medicare, by the way, and he found that if you just were to take all that cash, write a check for every poor family in America, their income would go up to $80,000 a year. So just cut out the middlemen, cut out all of the bureaucracies, and just write all the poor people checks. Wouldn't that be better?
Well, there's some interesting ideas out there. We have trying to build people's savings through these individual development accounts. That's an interesting idea that you find bipartisan consensus on. No question about it.
But you see what I'm saying. I mean, the bureaucracy, the interjection of bureaucracies is not helping.
You got to get that under control. Here's a big problem I have with the Republican approach, though, is they want self-sufficiency, but they're out there cutting Pell Grants, which help people get a college education. They're out there cutting subsidized child care, which helps people get to work by dropping off their kids. They're cutting transportation, which helps people get
let's make a deal. We keep those, but get rid of whole departments that are doing nothing.
I'm with you.
All right, David Callahan, good to see you from Demos. And our At Home tonight, we're going to be talking more about the awful economic news today. The market took a huge